Hello once again, Monster Hobbies Model Car Garage Mechanics. Are you ready for another great adventure in model car unboxings? Well, stay tuned because we got a real good one coming up for you. Now, last week I showed you this wonderful JoHan Plymouth Fury police pursuit car from 1968, and you'll notice that on the front of the box, this is the Detroit Police, and they're driving off to somewhere in a big hurry with the flashing lights and the siren blazing, and you can see the streaks coming off the wheels and everything. But where are they going? Well, could it be maybe to a fire? Maybe arson? Well, this week we're going to continue the story and find out as we take a look at JoHan's 1966 Cadillac Fire Rescue Ambulance. And here you can see the fire in the back, and it's also a Detroit Fire Department car, and you've got your paramedics on scene helping out a poor victim of the blaze. So without further ado, let's jump right down on the bench and see what's in the box. Ambulance Unit 500, are you 1097? Over. 1 Adam 70, 10-20 Baker in Essex, out. Well, here we have it. The great JoHan Fire Rescue Ambulance arrived at the scene with lights flashing, and the paramedics are out here helping a poor victim into the back of the great 1966 Cadillac Miller Meteor Ambulance. This model is in 1/25th scale, and you really have got to love this artwork where you can see the firemen here putting out the fire, and of course our team at the rescue, ready to help out where they can. And as we turn over the side of the box, we see the wonderful dispensary cabinet, oxygen tanks, jump seats, and the detailed interior. We also have a highly detailed stretcher. The kit also includes flashers, siren, communications radio, and an opening rear door. And on this side of the box, we get two great versions: the fire department, as seen on the front of the box, or an independent ambulance. This is a photo of the actual model. Now, this model kit has not been out in a long time, but if you get your hands on one, you will have a great building experience. Now, as we take the lid off the box, you will get to see that this model kit is molded in a really weird pink color. Now, there are some that are molded in red, and others, like this one, that were molded in white. But we're going to take a look at this pink one because it is a very unusual plastic color. It's got a lot of flash on there, as you'll see. Now, this model kit is not originally bagged. It would all be loose in there, but the previous owner of it did bag it. We have the instructions in here. We also have our chrome parts tree, and we've got our clear parts, as well as red plastic parts and tires. And we also have our decal sheet right there. So what I'm going to do is clear all this out of the way and clear the scene. Then we'll take a look at our instructions and then the plastic model itself. The JoHan instructions are really nice because they are printed on one piece of paper, front and back. And here we can see all the different steps to get us started. We've got our engine, our chassis, as well as the interior and the rear door. And we have our sirens down here. So let's take a closer look at these instructions and see how we get to build our ambulance. In step 1, we have the construction of our engine, and this engine represents a Cadillac 429 with the GM turbohydromatic transmission. Now we've got our right and left hand side engine block, and then we've got our fan belts and pulleys, as well as the alternator here. The cylinder heads, intake manifold, distributor are all molded as one piece, and that drops on the top of our engine. Then we get our right and left hand side exhaust manifolds, our valve covers, our carburetor, and our air cleaner, and that all drops down together to give you that great Cadillac engine. Now, if you want to super detail your Cadillac model kit, we have our 429 engine right here in figure D, according to this book. So what we have is the firing order is 187265543, and spark plug number 1 is going to this point on our distributor. Number 2 goes way over here, right at the front. This is number 3. And then we've got number 4 going off to that side. Number 5 goes all the way down here. Number 6, which is here, goes straight out and across into there. Number 7 does the same, straight off to the back. And then number 8 comes and crosses up and goes into here. The rotation of our rotor inside the cap is going this way, thus giving us the firing order of 18726-543. Here's a cross-section of our Cadillac engine from 1963 to 1968. So our 66 429 would fit into this area. But one thing that I find interesting is the air cleaner. And here you can see the little lines that are in the top of it on both sides, as well as our air intake tube. So we'll look at the plastic parts and see if that matches this actual air cleaner. Panel 2 shows our chassis assembly. And this is actually broken right here in the illustration because the chassis is very long and it would take up a lot of room to draw. So what we have is our engine block going in, and then up at the front we have the steering spindles, right and left hand side, tie rod which will go onto the pins here, and our lower front suspension here. Then we've got our wheels, which consist of 4 pieces. We have the front inner wheel halves, we've got our brake drums, our tires, and then our wheel covers. And out back, we have a rear axle block, we've got an axle, we have our wheel inner, the tire itself, and then the outer wheel. So you can see how this would all go together. Very simplistic at the front, but it does give you the operation of posable steering and rotating wheels. Panel 3 shows the construction of our interior, and there is a note here. It says optional radio unit may be placed in the interior on the transmission hump. See optional equipment. So what we have is this wonderful interior bucket, and it is quite long. There's a tab at the back which will lock in onto the car body. So we've got our brake pedal and accelerator pedal going in on the angle of the floorboards. We have the instrument panel right here, gear shift signal lever, our steering wheel. We have our front seat cushion and the 2 seat backs going in place. Over here we've got oxygen gauge assembly going onto our oxygen tanks, which will sit in the dispensary cabinet and the lower partition. Here we've got our seat back and seat cushions, as well as the seat bottom. You've got 2 jump seats, one here and one here. And we also have stretcher hooks, stretcher rail brackets, and the interior rail all going onto this side of the interior. Panel 4 shows the assembly of our operating rear door, and it is quite simple and very unique in how it's all put together. So here we've got the back door outer, you've got your glass going into a frame in here, and then with the inner door panel, it's got the hinges molded in place. You also get a handle that goes right into here, and you basically open the door, and when you're attaching it back here, you're going to hook the hinges around the inside of the door and then catch it onto the inner body panel here, which would glue up against the sides of the interior. You want to make sure you don't get any glue around the hinges, but just trap the whole thing in there like a sandwich, and then your door will be able to swing outward. Now down here we've got the optional equipment. We've got the left and right hand side panels for our radio face, the microphone cord, and the microphone. And here we have the siren body and the front siren cover. Now it says optional equipment. Cement the radio face to the sides of the unit. Glue microphone to locator pin on the passenger side of the unit. Locate microphone cord in the hole on the side, on the driver's side, and to the bottom of the microphone. Cement siren front cover to the siren main body. Locate between the front flashers. In panel 5, we get our body together here. We've got our radiator going into the molded in radiator wall on the body. We've got our windshield washer jar gluing on the other side, as well as the battery gluing up in here. And then we've got our firewall, which goes into these little slots on the inside of the body. We've got our side windows being glued in place, our windshield. We've also got this partition glass. So that's actually here. This is the windshield there. And then we've got our other side windows being glued in place. We've got a rear view mirror that goes up there. And then once all this is together, our interior tub will fit in and glue to the body. Panel 6 shows the final step in getting our body together. So what we have up front is our two headlights, and there's pins on the back and they go into the holes molded on the body in here. Then we can add in our front bumper and grille. We've got license plate for the front. Then we've got our hood. And up here we've got spotlights. Now in the front is the lens, and then on the back is the mirror. So those would go on our doors. And then here we have our warning lights. So there's a base and lenses, and they show 4 going here, 1 on each of the 4 corners of the roof. It says, note, optional siren may be placed between the front flashers. For assembly, see optional equipment. Now, going into the back here, the real Miller Meteor ambulances did not have the sunken in cross, which would go here, but it does make a nice addition for this kit, just so that everyone knows it's an ambulance. Here we have our rear bumper, which includes the taillight housings, and you can see red transparent taillights being put into place. And we also have our license plate here. And as an extra bonus, we have this wonderful stretcher. Now, it says, to complete your model, cement the stretcher together in the following order. Wheel brace cross members to side frame braces, lower end frame rails, and then upper end frame rails to wheel brace cross members. Apply petroleum jelly to axle pins and snap wheels into place. So that jelly will allow your wheels to roll in here, just like the real thing. Make sure they turn freely. Position and cement mattress onto frame assembly. Open the rear door of your model and place stretcher assembly on interior hooks. Do not cement. So it actually has it so that you can take this stretcher out and use it in your diorama, or even just roll it around on your tabletop. Here we have the body of our 1966 Cadillac Miller Meteor ambulance. And you can see, just looking at this, that there's a lot of flash, especially up in this roof panel here and on the tops of our fenders. Now, this could be a kit from Seville Enterprises from 1992. So originally this model came out in the 60s, but if this version here is from 92, that means that it's gone through the mold a lot of times. And the mold is not actually fitting together properly the way it should when the plastic's being squirted in here. Thus, the flash is squeezing in between the plates inside the mold. So, at any rate, we do get some really nice features, like the vent on the cowl, as well as our windshield wipers molded in place. Yeah, you can really see that flash right in there. Take a bit of cleaning. But if I could actually get this done on the 59 Miller Meteor hearse that I built from Jimmy Flintstone, this is actual real plastic, so it should be just as easy to remove as the resin was. Here you've got this great side marker light, also the sunken in area for the cross. Door handles look good. All of this looks great. You might want to take a look and see how these fenders are attached. You might need to actually carve in a line going down to the bottom. It all depends. You get some nice little fender skirts in here molded into the body. Now turning this over, you can see the gas filler door is right here. You also have those slots for the interior to slide into. You got a nice little channel around here so the door doesn't sink inward into the body. Overall, the molding does look quite nice. Up front, we've got the area where those headlights are going to pop in. We've got a nice rad support right in there. There are some little mold marks, which you'll also need to address. Now, it does have pins in here, which may have been elongated at one time to fit into the chassis. Hard to tell. We have 6 mold marks right into there, and there's some holes here for drilling out to attach those roof-mounted lights or whatever else may have gone in here. I do believe this body is shared with the hearse. So some of these holes may be references to the hearse. It's hard to say, although the hearse has this all filled in, and the Landau irons on it as well. But overall, despite the flash, this will look really good once you clean it up and get it ready. Here we have the chassis for our hearse, and you can see this great extra capacity gas tank in the back. Our exhaust pipe comes out and lazily bends up over here. We've got our rear axle molded in place with the drive shaft, the very long drive shaft. We also have our muffler here and the exhaust, and I do believe there might have been a resonator in here or where it widens out. You can see the 2 exhaust pipes are bending into shape to form one. This is coming out of our manifold for right and left hand side. We also have these long tubes here where we're going to attach our steering front end, as well as smaller holes there to catch the spindles. There is a great big piece of sprue parts tree sticking out the back, which we'll have to file down in order to make this fit in the body. And the long holes, which we need those axle blocks for. But overall, this is quite simplistic. It's nice to see it as one piece. Look at the thickness of this perimeter frame in here. Extra heavy duty. You can see spots where there might have been screws in one of these at one point in time. Just trying to see if there's a brake line on the frame. There is. So this back end may have come from a different Cadillac and it might have been extended just for the hearse. Well, definitely it would be. But again, we got a lot of flash. This slot here actually hooks into the front of the body. So this whole undercarriage will easily pop into place. Up under the hood in the front fender wells, there's not too much going on, but you can see these pads in here and then a little line coming out. I do believe there would be a brace on the real car going into the firewall just to give this a little more support up front. But overall, the molding on here for such an old tool looks really decent. Here we have our interior bucket, and it looks really nice in here. You've got a simulated carpet down below with a rubber mat as well. Our floor is nice and flat, and here's the 2 little pins for those jump seats to sit in. There are the inner wheel aprons, and a lot of cool little things on here. There are some mold marks which would need to be corrected. But if I turn this up on this side, you can also see that there are some beautiful door handles up in here. Got a little bit in the shadow. There we go. There's some door handles in here, and the texture carries all the way around, just like the illustration shows. If I turn it this way, you can see some mold marks on the floor which need to be addressed. There is a nice little double, sort of like they look like hatches in the back here, and those would be nice to chrome plate around there. It could also be a mat or something so that when you put the stretcher in, it doesn't scrape the floor. These 2 grooves would be for the hooks for the stretcher to fit in, as well as the rail. So again, some really nice stuff going on in here. You can see the tabs front and back. This almost links together like the Ghostbusters Ecto-1 ambulances do. Underneath, nice and smooth. Again, quite a nice big piece, but will look just like the real ambulance once you're done. This parts tree consists of our great big Cadillac engine and transmission. We also have the top of the engine. So like I was saying, you got your intake manifold and cylinder heads, as well as your distributor, all molded as one. There's the right and left hand side exhaust manifolds. We've got our fan belt and pulleys. And then here we've got our front seat with the seat back, as well as this partition wall in here and the cabinet. And then this is the top piece of our partition where the glass would be laying across. So looking at this model, we've got great detail on those seats. I love those cushions. Really excellent stuff. It's carried over on that cabinet as well. The engine looks pretty decent, I would say. The transmission I like. It's really nice. It's got some ribs in there and everything. flipping it over. It's got Cadillac engraved on the inside of the transmission, so you know what you're building when you're building it. Here we've got some mold marks, but you can see the sunken in area where the glass is going to fit in, so that's always really nice. The mold marks, these are actually locator pins for going into that cabinet. There are a little bit of mold marks on the back of the intake manifolds, which are quite easy to take care of. But again, we've got a lot of flash going on here, so simple cleanup will help a lot. This parts tree consists of our oxygen tank tops. We also have what looks like an axle in here. We've got our wonderful Cadillac dashboard, Cadillac steering wheel, our front spindles, our wheels, and this one got away actually. There's our wheel backs for the rear wheels. Okay, so this would be the rear axle right there. Then we've got our axle blocks. We also have a Delco battery stamped with Delco. And if you can fish it out of all this flash, you've got your lower A-arms here, and you've also got your tie rod. Right here is a air cleaner, and it's even got those little ridges, just like in our photograph, as well as a large snorkel. We've got our radiator right here, and then we've got these wonderfully molded license plates. These actually looked stamped. We've got our Cadillac hood, and what's nice about these license plates is there's no decal for a license plate in this model, so JoHan has actually given you some wonderful license plates. These are Michigan, and it says BD.6679, which might be the commercial plates for the time. And if you really look right in here, it says, what does it say? Water Winter Wonderland, I think. It's very tiny. There's our windshield washer bottle right where my thumb is. Again, the dashboard looks really nice. You can see all that fine detail on there. Here, if you can see the plate a bit better, maybe you can read that. But again, that looks really nice. Under the hood, you've got the fireproof mat. There's also a sunken-in area, and I think that's for some of the other JoHan Cadillacs. They might have had a blower up in there. Actually, there is a Heavenly Hearse version that's a big dragster, so I wonder if this is a slight carryover from that. You can see some mold marks in some various places under here. On the back of the wheel blocks, you would have to sand those flat because those mold marks might interfere. Same with on our wheel brake backs here for the front. There are some locator dots, but there's also mold marks like right in between it all. Kingpins, all this stuff would have to be smoothed up in order for you to have the proper operating steering without any interruptions or anything dragging. This parts tree consists of our back door outer, our back door inner, the panel that holds it all in, and then our three-piece jumper seats right here. So you can see how nice the back door looks. A lot of flash up here on the window frame and a little bit where the door handle goes in, or the pull handle. Here's a little tiny winder for the rear glass to go up and down. Would be cool if you could make that operational, and I know some of you guys can. Put a couple little screws in there. Not screws, like little tiny gears in the gear on the glass. I don't know, it's up to you. But look at how nice the seats are. Wonderful little pads molded in. Looks excellent. There's the holder for the hinge. So again, a lot of great work. Just clean it up a bit and you should be okay. The operation on these doors is really wonderful. I've built one in the past. I'll show it at the end of the video. And here's the final batch of our pink parts. We've got our firewall here, which is excellently done. You've got your master cylinder and the brake piston right there. You've got the windshield wiper motor, as well as our heater and the heater motor. Again, really nice work. And there's a whole bunch of wires in here. This one goes to this semi-round canister. We have our stretcher right here with a blanket that's been folded over, just like the real thing. And then we've got our little gurney wheels. And here we've got our 5-piece radio, the 2 sides, the little speaker, as well as the top, and the cord. So again, the detail on here is really nicely done. But you got that great big parts tree sprue mount that you got to get rid of. And flash, you can see this side's nice and round, and this side like squares out with flash right in there. Flash! Ah! Ah! Gotta clean it up. But yeah, overall, it's not bad. And then there's our stretcher with the little wheels. Again, looking really excellent. It's got the little grooves in here for the rest of the steel bars for the stretcher. And then our radio. You can see all the little switches and dials, just like the real unit. The speakers on the side, and our little microphone, which is full of flash, but the cord looks like an actual looped up radio type of cord. Again, JoHan really had some great engineers in here, considering how they used to make these models, how they carved the molds. This is all before CNC machines, and it looks fantastic. And here we get 2 chrome parts trees, and I do believe these were attached somewhere, but they fell off. So what we have is our Cadillac bumper with the grille molded in place and Cadillac molded here. So you'd want to scrape out the Cadillac lettering and put in that really cool Michigan license plate, or one of your own for your own state or province. We have our wonderful Cadillac hubcaps in here. I think these are known as sombrero caps. They kind of look like sombreros. Here we've got our rear bumper, and it's got a little area cut out here and here for that red taillight to pop through. We've got a whole bunch of little gauges and the hooks here for the stretcher. We also have the alternator. We've got our 2-piece siren. We've got our gas pedal and brake pedal, and a whole bunch of little rear view mirrors and whatnot. And then those side view mirrors and spotlights. We also have the chrome plated crosses here. We've got our headlights, Cadillac valve covers with the Cadillac script on them, and then the bases for our flashing lights. And then here we've got all the little bars and rods for the stretcher. So, oh yeah, and there's a lot of flash right in there too. So I'm going to have to clean these up, get rid of the mold marks off the back here, and then touch it over with the Molotow chrome pen. But there you can see all the little rods and supports for our stretcher. Really neat looking stuff. And now bringing this up, look at the detail on that grill. A nice black wash will bring it all up, make it look good. You can see the holes in there. They should align with the body up underneath. There's those sombrero hubcaps. Now, JoHan wheel and tire are quite different from AMT and monogram wheels and tires, so I don't know if you could use these on other cars just based on how they go together. But I mean, anything's possible. This is all plastic, right? So there's our rear bumper, and you can see the nice detail work in and around those lights. Siren looks wonderful. There's even a mesh on there. Then we've got our headlights and that Cadillac script. Again, some really excellent stuff. Mold marks seem to be down to a dull roar on the back of this, but overall, again, really excellent stuff. And once you get your little gurney in there, everything just looks like chrome magic. Here we have the clear components, which represent our glass for our 1966 Cadillac. And you can see the wonderful, gigantic, panoramic front windshield with the curve in it. We've got our side window glass and our rear side window glass. We've got the glass for the interior partition and the glass for the back door, as well as the little lenses for our spotlights, where these are the ones that are sitting in front of the mirrors on the sides. And then over here we've got our flasher units as well as the rear taillight lenses in red. So it's pretty slick here. Bringing it up to the camera, you can see how nice the glass is. However, JoHan never put the glass in bags back in the day. Actually, really none of the model manufacturers did. So this one has moved around in the box, and it's taken a few scratches for the team, as it were. So if you're able to, you can wax your windshields and polish it and get some of these scratches out of there. And on our red components, they're very simplistic. Again, there's a little bit of texture on the red taillights, but the dome lights are smooth. You can see how tall they are as well. This, again, will look really nice once you get it all assembled and underneath those chrome bases. Here we have the traditional JoHan tires, and a lot of these ones ended up in their factory stock vehicles. These ones have a nice pie crust texture around the edges, but they are generic tires. They don't say Firestone, Goodyear, or any of those other companies. They do have a neat little tread that just wraps right around. Very basic. There is some flash around the edges, so you can clean these up with your spinner tool. And I did notice that in some spots, my tires are flat. But that can actually work to a bit of an advantage, because a flat spot on a tire like this, if you have that down, it will look like there's a bit of weight going on these tires. But these would be bias ply tires, and bias ply tires are not like the radials. The radials we have today, they have soft sides, but the tread is really, banded over and tough and everything. That's where the tread would be 6-ply, for example. Whereas on the old bias belted tires, or bias ply tires, the actual sidewalls are the 6-ply, and the tread is like 2-ply. And the idea was that the tread would flex as you went down the road, and the sides would be stiff. Whereas with the radials, the sides flex and the tread is stiff. So what that means is, on a radial, the tread is always going down straight down the road, and if you hit a bump or whatever, it takes up in the sides of the sidewall. Whereas with the bias tires, the sides are stiff. So as this thing's going down the road, the sides are stiff, and the tread is going like this to take up the differences in the road and the bumps and whatever. So these have a completely different ride than the modern tire. Finally, we have our decal sheet, and this is quite simplistic. Here we've got our ambulance side script. This goes into the window at the back, and you can see the nice red cross in here as well as white ambulance letters. We have the Suburban, which would be on the 2 door sides and one on the rear door. And if you want to build this as the Detroit Fire Department, you would paint your ambulance red and then put these on the side, one on each door and then one on the back door. Now, I don't know if you caught on to this at the beginning of the video, but I did a little speech as I was zooming out here that was part of the old 10 codes that the police department and ambulances used to use back in the 60s. And I said, ambulance unit 50, are you 1097 over? So that means ambulance unit 500, are you on the scene over? And the response back was 1 Adam 70, 1020, which means we're on the scene at Baker and Essex. Now, I don't know if you caught on to this, but last week when I was doing this video, right there, I said 1 Adam 70, 1 Adam 70, we have a 1033 on Baker and Essex. So that's an emergency. And if you notice, one is their location. Adam means that there's 2 policemen in the car, and 70 is the number. And if you'll notice, this is the Detroit Police, and this is the Detroit Fire Department. So you really get a 2-for-1 if you have both of these model kits. You can make a nice diorama of the fire that's going on here with the police and the fire department showing up. for the complete EMS type of deal. Here I've got my 1966 Cadillac Miller Meteor Ambulance with the posable front wheels, and you can see how nice this one turned out. I've got a metallic Pontiac blue inside for the seats and dashboard, and I tinted the windows blue here with, I believe, some Tamiya, if I remember correctly. It's been a long time since I built this model, back in the 1990s, when maybe a lot of you weren't even born yet, or maybe some of you were born and were in your 30s. Anyway, you can see here there was a bit of tire burn in the decal, and that was from one of the tires sitting on the decal sheet in the wrong spot. I've used bare metal foil around the window trim and along the trim here. These handles are painted silver. I could do a lot better now with the bare metal foil, but back in the day this was quite the accomplishment. I've got some flat black wash in the grille. You can see the Cadillac emblem. I also have the turn signal lights painted in amber. You can see Cadillac script down where the license plate is. I love the red flasher units up here and the siren. And I've added a red stripe with electrical tape. The problem is that I had to make a couple little tiny additions because the electrical tape, I didn't stretch it long enough when I did this, and those have fallen off, and part of the thin red pinstripes have shrunk and pulled away. Now we get to the back door here, and should be able to open it somehow. Now last week I was showing the police car and I waxed that one, but I had some issues, so this time I thought I would not wax this, you know, in case I had more issues. Now I'll just see if I can turn this. Oh, there goes the door. Yeah, so you can see the door way over here. But at the back we've got the little gurney in here, and if I can just grab it instead of pushing it further back. Let's see, come here. There's my white blanket, and then at the top there's some of that Pontiac engine blue for the mattress. And then here you can see the jump seats in the back and the rail up along the side. Let's just see if I can't position that a bit. You can see the hooks, and that's where the gurney's gonna hook into. So we'll just put this back in here for now. It's a little bit of a trick to get it in. There we go. We'll close our door. And set it upright. So now I'll try to see if I can get inside. See if you guys can see that police radio. Here's a view through the side window, and you can't really see the radio down there just because of the angle and the lighting. Very hard for me to get in there, but overall you get the idea of just how cool this thing is. Let's just roll it around. Oh, there we go. Get a bit of a light glare going on, but see if I can spin you around in the interior. You can just see the radio peeking in behind the steering wheel. But overall, I did the best I could with what I had in the time. Here's the view under the hood, and you can see that I wired up that Cadillac 429. It does look pretty cool with that air cleaner on there. Maybe I can just maneuver this a little bit. I do have one wire that's just hanging out in the open, and that was to hook up the coil, but I never did get a coil for this kit, so I don't know, it's just sort of how it is. Go around this view. No, that's basically the best I can do for our engine. There's a pretty cool highlight there. We've got that wonderful Delco battery, and if I remember this correctly from the 90s, I painted the battery gloss black, and then when it was dry, I scraped off the top of the Delco letters with the hobby knife, and it came out looking fantastic. And here we have our police and ambulance all at the scene, ready to help and ready to assist. Well, I hope you enjoyed that unboxing of JoHan's 1966 Cadillac Miller Meteor Fire Rescue Ambulance. And if you really liked this video, don't forget to give us a thumbs up down below. Also subscribe, and if you really want to help support out this channel and make it grow, also consider becoming a member of the Monster Hobbies Model Car Garage. Now members get to see videos a week or two in advance of the regular subscribers, but after that time, regular subscribers get to see the videos too, as the member videos become public. So doesn't that sound cool? And if you want to get some great adventure model kits, don't forget to visit us at www.monster-hobbies.ca today to see what model cars that we have on offer for you. So, model builders, I'm going to say goodbye, happy model building, and we'll see you in the next video.